All right, Dave, my max 6 weeks, and this is JayTV, Muscle Beach TV. I have the great pleasure to have for the second time on the show Martin Fitzwater. Martin, welcome back to the show with about an extra 50 pounds more than last time we saw each other.
Yeah, a little bit bigger, a little bit older, a little bit wiser, I guess. So happy to be back, guys. Thanks. It's been since 2018, I think, right, is what we thought?
That's what you told me.
Yeah, so I was getting ready for Junior USA's. I ran into Jay out here in Vegas in City Athletic Club. And
you remember that? I thought it was in Cali. Okay.
Yeah, and then I was headed to Cali the next day on a spring break trip.
Gotcha.
And so he said, hey, Dave's in California. He's going to interview you tomorrow. And I was like, okay. I remember like the first 5 sentences I was shaking, my voice was, because it probably wasn't on the video, but it felt like it to me, you know. So I was
you were very natural.
So nervous, but it was just such a cool experience. And now, had a couple interviews, I feel a little bit more comfortable behind the mic. But I'm just happy to be back.
So let's go back a little bit. You were just about to compete at the time. You were really lean, but much smaller. I think you told me you were about 205 pounds at the time, right?
Yeah, so I was 205. Now I'm waking up like 250. I just had hernia surgery, actually, so my weight's down a little bit. I was waking up closer to 260 6 weeks ago, right before surgery, and then I had hernia surgery. Heath actually pulled me aside. He said, hey, kid, I had a hernia like yours. I let it go too long. It got a little too big. I had to have a bigger surgery. Go get the little surgery done and get it fixed early on. So I did that. I had They told me I was supposed to wait 6 weeks to train, but we all know bodybuilders aren't going to wait that long. So I waited about 2 weeks. It was 15 days, and I started back. They said I could do cardio then, so my cardio was arms and shoulders and light legs with lots of reps. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah, but it was nice. It was kind of. One thing for me is I get really lean super fast, so I was kind of scared to do a lot of cardio because I had already lost some weight, and I didn't want to lose any more tissue. So I thought it'd be more beneficial to drink an intra and just try to pump glycogen into the muscles and volumize back up. And it seemed to work pretty well for me. Like I said, my weight came back fairly quick. I was like 235 coming out of that 15 days of no training.
How was that mentally to not train for 15 days?
It was brutal. Sure. Honestly, so that was the longest break I've taken. I hadn't taken more than 2 days in a row off of training in 5 years. And so it was a disaster for me. I started.
What did you do?
I was ornery on social media to a couple people. Like I was pulling some Sergios, and so I had to be careful. But it was just crazy for me because I'm not used to sitting around at all. I'm a go body, go all the time. If I'm not training, I'm training somebody else, or I worked construction when I was talking with you guys then. So I've just always been a busybody. For me to sit, I had to actually sit and do nothing. They told me I couldn't get my blood pressure up. So that was brutal for me. But then afterwards, as soon as I could get back to the gym, I totally just felt my morale come back and knew that it was time to go, So.
Were you a little bit depressed? Was it tough mentally?
Yeah, I definitely would say I was depressed. I think anybody that loves this like I do is going to get a little down when you just can't do it, And that it kind of, we all know that this is kind of a stress relief or whatever, but I'm kind of have an addictive personality, so this is my addiction. And when I can't have it, it's kind of like, geez, I'm losing my mind. So it was really nice to get back. It was definitely eased my mind for sure.
Did you stick to your diet while you were off, or?
Yeah. So I ate as clean as I could. I was still 6 meals a day. Every once in a while, I was getting a cheat just to kind of try to keep my weight up. But besides that, we tried not to change my food at all because I knew that I was just going to lose weight from not training.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have that variable go away.
Yeah. So the only thing different really was the training. So were you well rested? And you're still young, so I'm sure you recovered quickly. But when you came back after 2 weeks, did you feel like your joints and tendon and everything was kind of like fresh?
Yeah, no. So I felt really good coming back into it, and kind of training with that lighter weight is something that I don't do usually. So I train very progressive overload, take a movement to failure, over and over and over again. So that coming back and doing light training, volumizing up, just felt nice to be big and kind of not sore and destroyed all the time.
Yeah.
And then now I'm kind of getting back into the progressive overload, and I'm digging the being sore and being crippled. I really like that. It's kind of been my way of training my whole life. So
you like the torture, like
yeah. So I like to train like Hunter, and that style, and just really push myself.
So let's talk about competing. So you were just about to compete when we saw each other. You got second at that show. What show was that? Remember?
Yeah. So that was Junior USA's in 2018. Actually,
right.
That's when Hunter won the overall at Junior USA's. Nice. And then I went on that I actually did Junior USA's or Junior Nationals that year also, and I think I got 4th. I just kind of ran my body into the ground. I was too tired. I probably should have stopped after Junior USA's. But after that, I took a really long, really progressive off season. I pretty much treated it like a prep. I ate 6 meals a day. We actually bumped it up to 7 eventually. Wow. Trained as hard as I could and really took it serious. I put on about 20 pounds of stage weight, and I went and did USA's. Wow. And we botched my peak a little bit, so I spilled over. It was a 2-day show. And I spilled over the first day in prejudging, and I actually cleaned it up the second day at finals. And Steve pulled me aside. He said, hey, you need to do North Americans in a couple weeks. You looked great tonight. You probably could have even won a card possibly. So go do North Americans and see where you land. And I did that, and I ended up split decisioning it with Chuck Kitty. He ended up winning the card. But, you know, I was only 23 then, and it was kind of one of those things where at the time, I was pissed and heartbroken, but looking back on it, I wasn't ready to be a professional yet. I needed another year.
Second national show, man.
Yeah, exactly. So it was my second pro qualifier, and I knew that all I needed to do was sit back, take another year, get a little bit more mature muscle, and I'd be right there. So that's what I did. We started 2020, and you know how that went. It was a disaster. I was super privileged up in Wyoming. It wasn't as bad, obviously, and they didn't take it as serious. So
really, was it?
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't really have as many cases, obviously, with the population being so low and stuff. That the gym owner just gave me the key when they were closed, and he said, you know, the gym's yours. I know you're a bodybuilder and you love this, and this is your career. So make it happen. So I was working construction up in Wyoming, doing that full time as a carpenter, and I still had the gym to myself. So that was awesome. And then I made the trot down to Denver to train with Brett every weekend. And
Brett Wilkins.
Yeah, Brett Wilkin. So we started training. At that time, he was getting ready for a 212 show in Toronto after making the transition from Classic to 212. And we just started training all the time, and it really clicked. So I said, look, man, I'm going to quit doing construction here soon, and I want to move to Denver and train with you every day. And so that's what I did. I made it happen. I think it was about June of 2020. As soon as Denver kind of opened back up, I took off from Wyoming, and I said, let's go win my pro card. So I was 8 weeks or 6 weeks out from North Americans then, because I was getting ready for USA's, and they canceled it and moved it to December. So we went for North Americans. Like I said, I moved down there like 8 weeks out, and Brett and I really just hammered myself into the ground and made sure that we got the card. So we went out there, and I won the heavyweight class, got it done, finally got my card. And now it's just been a growing process from there. So I was 225 out there. Now I'm waking up 250. I would like to be 265 here before I start prep. And we've been really pushing out there. It's kind of been a blast, just Brett and I getting after it.
So I want to go back to Brett, because we interviewed Brett a few years ago, and he actually got his pro card as a men's classic, and you know, great lines and, you know, good body and everything. But you told me off camera, he says, you know, I want to train with him because he's bigger than me. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's bigger than 250. He's a beast right now.
Yeah. So Brett's like 275, waking up right now. From being the little guy that you saw him, I think when he won his card, we were the same weight at that show. He won it at Junior Nationals, and we were both 200 pounds. Wow. So now he's 275, I'm 250, and it's just been a blast. He's a little bit taller than me, so we're kind of similar in size right now, but it's been fun to just really, it's kind of back and forth between the two of us, you know, really chasing each other. And he's a little bit older than me, so I'm only 24, Brett's 31, and so that's been awesome too, of him just helping me develop as a bodybuilder and become more mature and be able to, you know, help me make business decisions and things like that as I'm just a kid in a big
kind
sport.
of just watching over you.
Yeah, he's a big brother for sure.
That's awesome. I was in San Diego not so long ago, and me and Sergio were talking about the camaraderie in bodybuilding. He actually gave you guys a shout out. You were telling me about that.
Yeah. So it was funny. I was watching the video. I always watch all your guys' videos, you know, and I'm like, holy crap, Sergio's talking about us. So I'm always messaging Sergio. We always send each other memes and stuff on IG and stuff. So I knew he knew who I was, but I didn't.
On the radar.
Yeah, but I didnn't know he was going to shout us out. So I thought that was pretty cool.
What did Brett say?
Yeah, Brett was just like, oh, geez, all right, I'll have to tell Sergio thank you. So it's we kind of know that we're kind of off the radar, and we're just kind of doing our own thing up there in Denver. And so
people are watching.
They are, and that means a lot to us. So
that's awesome. You're telling me Brett is coming for Flex's grand opening next weekend?
Yeah, so I actually got a hold of him and told him he's going to do an interview with you. He didn't have a choice, so he was like, all right, that sounds great to me. I haven't talked with Dave in a long time. So
he's such a good guy. I'm glad you guys kind of found each other. It's nice to see that camaraderie is not dead in bodybuilding, just like Suri was saying, and it's nice to see people gravitating toward each other and pushing each other. It's nice. It makes the sport even better.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, when I started watching bodybuilding, that was what it was really about, and it's kind of separated into these individuals. But, I remember watching videos of Flex Wheeler and Christian Comier train together, and videos of Lee Priest and Tom Platz and stuff like that. So I've always thought that was what you were supposed to do, So I was up in Wyoming doing my own thing there.
By yourself?
Yeah, there's no other bodybuilders up there really. So as soon as I found the opportunity and somebody that I knew I clicked with, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I wanted that. I wanted somebody that could beat me every day, to give me that competitive edge, to know that, okay, I'll keep chasing you until I beat you, So
would you say, because I ran into you last week just by accident at the gym, and I saw this big guy working out, and I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? And then you went like this, and so as I got closer, I realized it was you. But you gained so much weight, I couldn't even tell it was you. So would you attribute the fact that you made so much progress to moving to Denver and training with Brett?
Yeah, I think all of it kind of adds up together. Obviously years of training and becoming smarter in my training, things like that, and my nutrition. But a huge contributing factor is us training together. And I know Brett will tell you the same thing, is like we're both each other's X factor right now. We're really learning each other's bodies too as we diet and figure that out as well, and we can help each other call shots. And so it's all just a process of helping each other. I think too many people get caught up in the fact that you have to compete against each other, but we have all these shows that Brett and I don't have to go against each other until it's the big time, and it doesn't matter then. It's every man for himself, right?
Attack.
Yeah, exactly. So until then, we got each other's backs until the end,
How is it to train with Colorado? Tell me the difference between training in Wyoming and training in Colorado. It's a different state, different atmosphere. How is life over there for you?
Well, I was the big fish in a small pond in Wyoming. And now in Denver, I'm the small fish in a bigger pond. Even training with Brett, obviously I'm littler than Brett. We're very similar as far as ratios go and stuff, but we're still in Phil's gym at the end of the day, So we can be good, but we're not that great. And I like that feeling of still being the little guy. And I'm still the kid in the sport. So for me, I'm still a fan as much as I am a pro. And so, getting to run into Phil and getting to hear his stories, getting to know him as an actual man.
You see him all the time?
A decent bit, he was kind of distant during this last prep, but before that he was around a lot. And I got to be around and was down there even before I lived down there a lot. And it's just been good to learn that he's not the guy that a lot of people say. He's one of the greatest humans I've ever met, and he's taught me a lot in bodybuilding. So like I said, one of the things, the reason I got my hernia fixed was because Phil pulled me aside and he said, hey kid, I don't want you to make some mistakes that I made. Go do this, go fix yourself, and it'll be really beneficial for you. You won't have to get a bigger surgery. They don't have to cut your abdominal wall, get it done. So I really appreciate being there. And the owner, Dylan, he's just as great. He's kind of told us, like, look, Phil's done and you guys are the next guys. So
Future.
He said, whatever equipment you guys want, whatever pieces you need in here, if you need 200-pound dumbbells, I'll buy 200-pound dumbbells. So he's been wonderful. I couldn't be in a better place, honestly. I know you were trying to convince me to come out here to Vegas.
Gonna be my next.
But we'll see. I don't know. You might be able to talk me into it still.
So I wanted to talk about that because as young as you are, you come to Vegas and you came to train at Flex's gym, and right away he's spotting you and he's like, hey man, you gotta come and train here. How does that feel to have people like Jay Cutler, like Phil Heath, like Flex Lewis, Olympia champion, telling you they want you around? They must really feel nice.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's a humbling thing for me. I am the biggest fan of bodybuilding. This is my favorite sport. It's always been my favorite sport. I think I told you guys in the first interview, but Hercules was my favorite movie as a little kid. Like, this has kind of always been who I am. So for these guys to say anything to me, even if it was a pat on the back, would be cool. But the fact that they want to pose me, they want me around. Jay, you sent him some pictures the other day, and he said, that kid right there, he's going to do well, So
he said the future.
Yeah, the future. But, that means a lot to me. So it's not really it's not even a factor of like being, lifting my head up or making me cocky about it. Really, it's just humbling for me because I know that those guys are great and they wouldn't say that unless it really meant it,
Yeah, I think we're talking off camera a little bit, and I think we both agree that the fact that people of that stature, icons in the sport, telling you those kinds of things just kind of make you believe really that you can do it. You have what it takes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm not going to say anything that I don't believe in. And I do think that someday I'll be Mr. Olympia. I love this sport and I'm so young and I have a lot of potential that I think as long as I continue to do what I'm doing and don't rush anything, I think I'll be there someday, honestly.
Yeah. So, competitive-wise, what is it that you would like to do? Do you have a show in mind for, if not this year, next year, or have you decided yet, or you kind of just waiting and see?
Yeah, so I came out of this surgery, and I kind of like the back against the wall feeling. So I picked Tampa, and I said, no matter how this recovery goes, we're going to do Tampa. So the recovery has gone perfect. I feel like I'm ready to go. I'm actually hit the 6-week mark on Tuesday. And
when is it? Tampa.
Tampa will be 21 weeks, I think. It's August 6th.
Okay, so you mean 6 weeks from surgery. Got it.
Yeah. So 6 weeks from my surgery, and then I'll hit 6 weeks on Tuesday, like I said, and that's when I could actually fully start training, or when I was supposed to start training. So now it's really prep mode. So I'll really start in, I'll lock in, and I'll just start eating as big as I can for the first couple of weeks. I get in shape pretty quick, so it'll be more of trying to keep as much size as I can. I'm just the kid still, so I'm trying to chase these big boys. I know a lot of these guys are like 250s on stage. I think I'd be happy with the 240s if I could be somewhere in there.
What's a typical prep length for you, like normally?
I mean, I like to do 16, but it's more of just a locking in and trying to eat more, honestly, than anything. I struggle. I have crazy fast metabolism. So going into North Americans, the last 12 weeks of prep, I didn't even do cardio. Wow. My body it really responds well. I eat high carb, high protein, keep my fats really low, and I just respond super fast. So
sounds like Jay.
Yeah, so I could be ready in like probably 5 weeks or 6 weeks, but what I'll do is I'll try to eat up as big as I can and hold on to it for as long as I can. I'd like to get in the 260s, and then about 8 weeks, 12 weeks out, then I'll start pulling triggers and start at least manipulating a couple days a week where I'm in a deficit.
So talk about your coach. You have been with the same coach since you first started. That's very unusual in the sport. A lot of time, especially when people are young, they have tendency to jump around. You haven't. So tell me a little bit about your coach and that relationship you have with him.
Yeah, so, we were just talking about flex, and that's kind of something that I really wanted to model myself after. I watched him work with Neil from the beginning, and they really figured each other out. They had some slip-ups or whatever, maybe didn't win everything all the time. I know that Flex even had to take a year off of legs and only train upper body because he was getting so developed so fast. So it was one of those things that I really looked into that, and I said, look, Nelson, I love you. You believed in me from the beginning. Let's make it happen. And, he's made everything come true for me. So I'm a pro now because of him, and he totally knows my body. And we're learning it together to where I feel like I'm comfortable enough to say something, whereas I think a lot of times guys work with, this big name or something, and maybe you don't feel as comfortable to say, hey, man, I think you're messing up, or I think,
too intimidating.
Yeah, I think something's going wrong here. Whereas with him, it's a partnership, and he knows me, and we're best friends to where I can say, hey, man, I think we should do this. I feel comfortable doing this. I don't feel comfortable doing that. This is how I'm training. I don't need to do cardio because I'm wrecking myself into the ground, whatever. And it's been super beneficial for me. So, I don't plan on changing anytime soon. I think we have a really good chemistry going, and I think we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
What's Nessel's last name?
Nelson Jones. He's out on the East Coast. Yeah, he's in Virginia.
Okay. Nice. Is he a bodybuilder himself?
Yeah. So he's done some competitions. He'll probably do a junior show this next year. Nice. He's kind of one of those guys. He always tells me, he says, his bodybuilding comes second to mine. So he's a coach before he's a bodybuilder, but he's still a bodybuilder.
I love it. Talk to me about social media. You have your own YouTube channel. You and Brett have your own YouTube channel where you upload videos and everything. I think that's very smart to do that, because even though it starts slow. Who knows what it's going to be in a year, 2 years from now? So talk to me about, social media and how active you are on that.
Yeah, so I have my Instagram. It's MartFitz H2O. I know that when I started with you guys, I had like no followers, and it was kind of cool. We were talking about it off camera, but I told you that I got like 2,000 followers from that first video, and I thought it was like the best thing ever. So now I'm up in the 30,000s, and I've been taking it a little bit more serious. I post my check-ins on there every week and stuff like that. So if you guys want to follow along, and then on Brett and I started a YouTube together, so it's Martin Fitzwater and Brett Wilkin, and we do a lot of educational videos on training, especially on how we've developed our physiques, and kind of give you tips and tricks. So that's where we're starting, and then both of us are starting a prep series. So like I was telling Dave, Brett's going to do the Chicago Pro, and I'm doing the Tampa Pro. We'll be prepping in parallel, and we'll kind of be able to give you guys an insight on a little bit different body types on how we're prepping and stuff. I use the high carb, high protein diet like I was telling you, whereas Brett uses a little bit more fats and utilizes fats a little bit more in his diet, so that's something that you guys can learn from. And we just we're in tandem, we're like I said, we're best friends, and it's it really shows through in our videos for sure.
So go on we're gonna drop the Instagram and the YouTube channel. Please go subscribe for these guys. Who knows what they'll be in a few years, and that's what Jay always says. You never know where these guys are going to be, and he's really good. He's got that great eye. I have to give it to him. Every time he tells me, you have to film this guy, when he says that, usually that person always go far. So I'm not putting any pressure on you, but I'm telling you, he has that eye. You know what he did with Phil. So, he discovered Phil.
So I think that first video, you even told me, he said, hey, I got the next Phil, the young kids. So that's my plan. Like I said, I've tried to make myself every opportunity that I possibly can to make this happen for me. And I have a long time in bodybuilding, so we'll see what happens.
Talks about sponsor. Anybody want to sponsor? You have a couple of sponsors. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, so first off, I'm with HD Muscle, and I can't be more thankful for
Dorian. They got everybody, these guys. Right?
Yeah, so I can't be more thankful for those guys up in Canada. Dorian and I have been friends for a long time, and he actually reached out to me way before they started the company back in 2019. Wow. And he said, hey, I'm going to start up a company. As soon as we have products, I'd like to send them to you and try them. So I actually signed with them as soon as they started, and wow. They started in January. I came on in February as soon as they had their Canadian guys like Antoine. Yeah. So I've been with them from the beginning, and I couldn't be more thankful. They really took care of me. And they've made a lot happen for me as far as winning my card and stuff. They really helped me out there going to North Americans and stuff like that. So appreciate their support. And then after I won my pro card, Brett and I took a trip down to Destination Dallas and spent some time. We spent some time with Michael down at the gas headquarters, and so they brought me on the team, and that's been one of the best opportunities I can possibly have. I've got to train with Keon now, and I train with Hunter quite a bit, and Hunter and I developed a relationship a long time ago, but it's been cool to become on the same team and really get to spend some more time together, so I can't be more thankful for those guys. And I'd like to thank Dylan too out at Armbrust, because he's really made a lot happen for us out there. So
yeah, Michael is such a fan of bodybuilding. It's great to be with companies that are really fan at the core, more than businessmen. They just love the sport, and that's why they start a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And GASP especially, because it's kind of something that I've always followed from being a kid. Branch Warren's one of my favorite bodybuilders, being
forever.
Yeah, he's just the most hardcore guy. And so, country boy, grew up on a farm like me, kind of same kind of deal. So I really love that aspect of the Texas bodybuilding aspect down there. And I couldn't be more thankful to be on the team with those guys for sure.
I know they're trying to recruit you over there. So between Colorado and Vegas and Texas, you get your pick, man. Everybody wants you. That was been us, Phoenix.
Yeah. So you guys might have heard it on the video, but Flex was walking by and said the next guy to move to the Dragon's Lair. So I don't know where my arm will get twisted, but I know that if it gets twisted, Brett's got to go too.
I was going to say, you guys are a package deal, so it's not just one, but 3 people has to come, because he's got to bring Ivana too.
That's right. So I know that last time we were down at Destination, they were like, what's it going to take to get you to move here? And Brett wasn't there, and I said, well, you get Brett to move here and I'll move here. So then Brett and Ivana went down 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, and they were kind of twisting his arm, saying, well, we heard that you'll be here if Martin will come too. So it's kind of one of those things, but I bet this next weekend when Brett's out here, Flex will be twisting his arm to come to Vegas. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see who wins.
That's right. Maybe whoever places the biggest bet.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Martin, I really appreciate you coming back on the channel. You were a big hit the first time. I'm sure you're going to be an even bigger hit this time. Jay was very excited to have you back. And we have big hopes for you. We're going to keep watching you. And we hope to film again before you compete, hopefully. You're going to come back to Vegas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll be out here, or if not, we'll get you out to Denver, and we'll make sure that we get something happening. Keep you guys in the loop on what's going on with my prep. So.
All right. Dave Man Max 6 with Martin Fitzwater for JayTV, and we're out.